right, that's a popular one. Anybody else?
This sounds like pay to play.
This sounds like pay to play. Oh, I got a good solution for that one.
I ask my friends in my network for money all the time. If I do it one more time, they're gone.
I ask my friends in the network for money all the time. If I do it one more time, they're gone. Sounds like I need new friends. I'm on a fixed income. All right, good one.
Why are you asking me to donate now if I'm a member of this board for 4 years?
Ah, yes. Why are you asking me to donate money now when I've been a member for 4 years?
Can I just give you the list?
Can you just give me the list? You can make it cheap.
No, that's what a board member will say.
Ah, yes. Can they give you a list of contacts so you do the work? Absolutely. Right.
I hate asking people for money.
I hate asking people for money, but I bet they love giving people the opportunity to change the world, right? So reframing that. Who else? What other objections do we hear from board members? I don't like targeting my friends. Yes. Any more good excuses from board members? All right. Yes, one more. Go ahead.
Am I going to do more than everybody else on the board?
Oh yeah, no, you know, that one, that's like kids. Mom, how come he doesn't have to do it if I have to? Am I gonna have to do more than everybody else? Did you have one as well? Somebody else? Okay. All right. Any more board members? One last call? Going? Gone. All right. So let's get to the fun part. What convincing arguments did you executive directors come up with to help answer these objections by board members? That's right. Our donors want to know that our board supports the mission financially before they give us their money. Excellent. That's a good one. Anybody else have some creative ideas? If not, I can give you the Cliff Notes version.
I asked her why she served on the board and what about the board inspired her to be a board member. So then she said, because I don't like to see kids in pain from oral because we do dental care. So then I was able to tap into that.
So she asked her, why do you want to be on the board of this organization? What does it bring to you? She said, I don't like to see kids in pain, and they used to offer dental care. And so once she was able to figure out that the board member didn't like to see kids in pain, she could align her pitch with, when you give, you're able to take another kid out of pain. Very creative, top of the class.
That was kind of, my board member told me that he didn't want to be on the board anymore. So, well, I asked you, what made you want to be on the board to start with? What brought you into the family to begin with? And once he told me, I said, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to be able to continue to serve those people that originally started out wanting to help, and that was kind of it.
Excellent. So the story is when she asked her board member what the objection was, he said, I don't want to be on the board anymore. So she asked an open-ended question of what made you or inspired you to join the board in the first place, and she was able to tap into that to say, hey, wouldn't it be great to continue the work you've already started? Excellent. Any more? Yes.
Well, there was a moment that gave me pause when I was pushing back about not wanting to give, and they were, what was coming back was, well, you had started and you were the closest to our mission, the closest supporter of the mission, and if we don't have support from those who are the closest to the mission, how do you suggest that we get others to support it? It kind of gave me a pause, like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Great question. She said, when she expressed or pushed back, they said, well, if you who are closest to our mission don't give, then how do you expect us to ask others? So that instant social proof, right? And then following it up with, and if not you, then who? That's a great question to ask. If not you, then who? Because board members don't think about that it is their job. And that's the main job they have, is governance and raising money. Excellent.
I just like them to bring me to coffee with their friends. You know, I can do the ask. I'm more than happy to ask, even if they don't want to give.
Yes.
Who do they know? You know, we've got the capacity to tell our stories.
Right. Excellent. So you've tapped into something that board members are often afraid to make the ask because maybe they feel ill-prepared or they aren't the best best person to ask. They don't want to be the one nailing their friends for a contribution. So when you take or offer to do the ask for them, then they're able to agree to that, because it's just a matter of inviting someone to have coffee with you or have a conversation. You are going to be the one that makes the pitch. So these are great suggestions for how you can overcome objections from board members. But at the end of the day, it's up to us to make them feel empowered. And you know, not everybody is going to be a chatty Cathy like me and comfortable. I could walk up to a wall and ask the wall for money. Not a problem. Because even walls need the chance to change the world. And I have to say, it's a skill I developed at a very young age. So one of my first successful fundraisers after the disastrous fete was, my father was in the Lions Club, and every year they raffled a Mercedes-Benz to raise money for the blind. And every weekend for like 3-4 months, me and my friends would go in the back of his pickup truck, which had the Mercedes-Benz pulled behind it, and we'd drive to the nearest shopping plaza, and we would pitch for the day, and we would have our raffle ticket pitches, and of course, you know, we weren't just a little bit competitive, and me especially. I guess it was a harbinger of things to come. But one Saturday, this beggar decided to position himself in my spot outside the department store. And I wasn't happy because he put a real dent in my business, you know. But I couldn't really say anything. So at the end of the day, my dad came to get me to say, hey, it's time to go. And I looked at the beggar and I said, would you like to make a donation to help the blind? And my dad says to me, how can you beg a beggar? And right then, the beggar dropped a few dollars in the cup. And I looked at my dad and I said, because every one of us has the power to make a difference. And that was really my introduction into philanthropy. Our job is to bring people to the opportunity to make a difference and help them feel good about themselves. And none of us has so little to give that we have nothing to share. That beggar gave me a gift that day, because when he gave, it was more than proving my dad wrong, although I did enjoy that. But it was more the thought that we exclude people from the conversation because we make judgments about their ability to give. And the numbers do not support us in that. I used to run the Catholic Campaign for Human Development for the Archdiocese of Miami, and every year the low-income churches contributed a far higher percentage of their wealth than the more affluent churches. So never be afraid to beg a beggar. They need dignity just as much as you and I. And that brings me to the objection that was raised in the back about this is a pay-to-play space. So there are two different ways that you can write your give and get policy. The first is you can choose a hard and fast amount, like you have to give $1,000. I'm not a fan of that strategy because it is very exclusive. And many of the board members that have the most intellectual capital to contribute are the people in the communities you're serving. And when you have a dollar amount that is above what they can afford, you are excluding them from the conversation. So that's why on our grant applications for the Catholic Campaign for Human Development, we have a question, what percentage of your board is made up of low-income individuals? And if they could not answer 51% or higher, disqualified. Because people who live with the consequences of the decision and live in the community are the best experts on solving the problems of their community. And so when I do give or get policies, what I like to do is word them like this. Each board member will make a personally significant gift, which is defined as this organization will be in the top 3 nonprofits you support every year by dollars. So a personally significant gift, which is defined as this nonprofit will be in the top 3 organizations you support financially each year by dollar amount given. The beauty of that is when you have a low-income person that can only give you $1 a month, they're not excluded from the conversation. And so you're able to build diversity on your boards, and your boards should look like the communities that you operate in. So I had a client in South Carolina. Every single one of their board members was white. And I had to say to them, y'all don't have communities of color around here? I'm very sensitive to that just because of my upbringing and where I grew up. And so the first thing I worked on was, how can we diversify your board so it looks like your community? And I reached out to a Hispanic pastor and an African American government leader and Chamber of Commerce, and we were able to bring diversity to the board, not just in terms of skill set, but in terms of background and income, and a magical thing happened. Their donor base grew, because now their donor base didn't just look like them, it looked like the entire community. So when your communications are inclusive, your boards are inclusive, and you're really engaging people, magical things are gonna happen for all of you. So well done on your exercise. Let's give you a round of applause for that. Here we go again. All right, no worries. We only had 2 slides left, so. So I wanted to spend a little time. The goal of getting a good evaluation is to make sure I get you all out early before you're too hungry to get miserable, right? So I'm aiming for good evaluations today. But before we leave, the 3 things I want each of you to think about. What are the 3 things that you are going to take away from this conversation that we had today? You do have some cards with you, so you're welcome to fill those out, but you can also jot them in your notebook. And I'd love to share some of the ideas or light bulb moments that went off today as we spent some time together. So anybody want to go to first? What's one gem that you're going to take away from this conversation? Jennifer?
Segment your database and only send certain communications to certain lists that will be the most restricted. And you'll get
Segment your list and send certain communications to certain people because you'll get better response rates. Absolutely. And those numbers are going to show up in your open rates and your click-through rates in MailChimp or whatever email marketing software you use. So typical nonprofit communications, 30% is good. If you are above that, you're really good. The more you segment your list and the more you are providing useful and interesting content, the higher those numbers will be. All right, another takeaway.
Actually, question on that. So trying to switch to a data-driven focus, is there software that you would recommend?
Well, that's a loaded question. Switching to a data-driven process. Of course, Network for Good is there for you. Yeah, we think everybody in the world should come to Network for Good, but the reality is that depending on your situation, there may be other tools that are good for you. Before you choose a tool, I would make a list of what kinds of functionality you think you need before you start looking at the options that are out there. Every software package has its strengths and it also has its downsides. So you want to ask yourself, do I have any major events where I'm managing costs and assigning tables and tracking all kinds of things, golf tournaments, assigning foursomes? If you have a complex event like that, where you are relying on technology to do seating assignments and track costs or things like that, then you need to have a software package that has a full events management function built in. If you just need to sell tickets and collect money online, then that's a whole different ballgame, because everybody can do that. Similarly, if you are using volunteers and you're in an organization that has lots of volunteers, and you want to track volunteer hours and have them be able to sign up for shifts in your organization, then you need to make sure that whatever tool you choose has a full volunteer management feature. If you are a membership organization, like an arts organization or an advocacy group, that's a whole different can of worms, because you need to be able to do petitions and all kinds of things. So it's really a matter of figuring out what are the functions you would like your software to help you do, and then you figure out which tools are the best. And if you Google nonprofit CRM comparisons or something. There are tons of articles out there that will rank software packages against each other. But that said, if you are in the market for a CRM and you want to talk more about what we offer, I'm more than happy to do that or schedule time for a demo. But I'm not here to sell you software. I'm just here to teach you how to be better fundraisers. But as a former IT person, every hour you invest in figuring out what you need so you get the right tool will save you $100 of aches and pains later on. So it's not something to rush. All right, another takeaway.
We have an event coming up in November, fundraising event, and instead of asking for a dollar amount, we're going to ask for a monthly giving amount.
Sweet. So he says they have an event coming up. Instead of asking for a specific amount, they're going to ask for a monthly amount. So I'm going to give you a little trick to help you drive that participation up. If you have a gate price that you have a drawing for anybody who signs up to be a monthly donor or is already a monthly donor, people love to win stuff. So that's going to drive up participation in that. Another thing to do when you have a special event is have like a mission moment where you have one of the clients that you serve come and give a testimonial about how you have been there for them, and have them speak to the donors. Because you care, this organization had the resources to help me. And then you need somebody like me who's really passionate and excitable and just say, all right, isn't this an amazing story? And the rule in sales is you got to get them to say yes to 3 things before the one you really want the yes to. So it usually goes like this. Don't you agree that this is an incredible story of transformation? Yes. Don't you agree that everybody in this position should have access to supportive help like this? Yes. Would you want yourself to have this organization help you if you were in this position? Yes. So the 4th one's the one you want to answer to? Become a monthly donor, right? And so those are the kinds of things that you can use to build up. But I love the monthly giving focus because that's a great takeaway. Monthly giving solves every problem you have because it's retention, it's recurring gifts, and monthly donors also give you those major and planned gifts later on. Excellent. Any more takeaways for today? Yes?
Simplifying the donation process.
Simplifying the donation process. Help me unpack that. In what way?
Meaning that if it's not easy for donors to click donate and do it on a repeated basis, will deter.
Exactly. So simplifying the donation process, making sure that when they click donate, it's easy for them to contribute is absolutely key. Many nonprofits that I audit have a donate button that links you to a page that says all the different ways you can donate. You can give us cards, you can give us stocks and bonds, you can make a gift by check or mail. No. If they click donate on your website, take them to a credit card page because that's what they're there to do, right? And make sure it's mobile friendly. Excellent tip. One more takeaway.
So your database, large to small, and concentrate on the top 20.
I'm glad you said that. Sort your database large to small and have your VIP list so that you know who to spend the time on when you're doing what we call high-touch activities, like inviting donors for advance visits or site visits. Excellent. That was my foolproof way of raising money year after year. Figure out who's important and double down on those. Anybody else got a takeaway? I'm surprised there's no storytelling takeaways yet. Let's see. Yes?
People give to people through organizations, but not to them.
That's right. People give to people through organizations, but not to them. And that's the hardest part for us because we know we're in the trenches doing the work, but we have to give the donors a credit. And so it's all about making the donor the hero of your story. Excellent. Any more takeaways? Yes?
Having a donor welcome process or packet other than just a thank you acknowledgement letter, but more to it than that.
Having a donor welcome process that goes beyond the initial thank you and acknowledgement, getting to know you. Excellent. And there's a wonderful article, if you Google it, I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called Date Your Donors. And if you read that, they give you tips for how to do just that. So date your donors. Another takeaway.
I love the idea about giving more attention to mid-level donors and converting them to monthly donors if they're not monthly.
Excellent. Pay attention to your mid-level donors and convert them to monthly or recurring donors. Absolutely, it's going to help your retention rates.
Wondering if you have advice for largely volunteer organizations
So the question is, do I have any advice for volunteer organizations that don't have the staff to do all this cool stuff? Find other people like you that are crazy enough to do what you do with blood, sweat, and tears. It seems like a silly answer, but it really is. I would start by looking at how many of those volunteers contribute financially. And you're probably going to find that at least 70% of them don't, because they already give time. And so if you're able to craft a job description for a chief everything officer to hire as your first employee, and then share with them how that's going to help your organization grow when you have a paid staff member that can then write grants and build a donor base and run programs, you're going to ask them for a very specific ask, starting with your board. And we just did this for that Humane Society that I was helping in South Carolina. I asked their board members, there were 12 of them, each to commit to giving $4,000 for the year, which was a big ask. But some of them had the capacity. And they were able to get the board to agree. They actually gave about half that amount, which was $24,000. But we were able to talk the volunteers into pledging, and the board members, enough funds to hire that chief everything officer for 2 years. If you can't provide funding for 2 years worth of employment, you're not going to attract a quality candidate, right? And you need somebody special if they're your first employee, because they're going to work their tails off. And so if you can approach your board and donors to help you get to that first, but speak to the impact that it's going to allow you to amplify, you're going to have a much easier time raising money, because it's something they all believe in and are passionate about, and it's a matter of how do we secure the legacy we've started. Make sense? All right. Anybody else has a takeaway? All right. So the step 13 was the culture. All of these ideas that you guys have surfaced as takeaways are what goes into creating a good culture. At the end of the day, our job is simple. We have got to take fundraising from one individual's responsibility to being a central function of the entire organization. It's everybody's job. And so when you make that part of job descriptions, so maybe you have a program director or a social worker, they need to be on the hook in their job description for giving you 2 stories a month. And now the stories are really ugly when they come to you. There's something like 36-year-old female, 2 children, boy in 5th grade, girl in 3rd grade, paid light bill, enrolled in affordable aftercare. That's kind of what you're going to get back. But always have a phone number so you can interview the client. Because once you get the basics of the story, you can use your imagination and your encounter in the conversation with that client to fill in the blanks. Like Elroy had on overalls with a really cool t-shirt, right? That's the kind of picture we need to paint. And if you're able to do that, move fundraising from an isolated activity to something that everybody's engaged with, your job is going to be much easier. Because all you have to do is what, 3 things? Let's see, I'm asking a lot. The 3 things we have to do: we have to be authentic. And what else? Make it personal and be specific with our call to action. So with that said, if you forget everything you did today, just take away those 3 things. Be personal, be authentic, and have a specific, clear call to action. And when you do those 3 things and rope in your whole team, you are going to raise more than double what you did last year. So thank you all for being wonderful participants on this adventure. I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep. I'm going to hang around for a little bit afterwards, and Kim's going to take over now and tell you how you're going to access all the slides and what comes next.
Rachel when Nate couldn't make it because he went on to different things, I'm not going to say better things, if she got the long straw or the short straw to come here from Florida to Wisconsin. You said the long straw, so we're excited about that. Any of you in the Network for Good program right now, do not ask Rachel to be your coach. She's already really busy with me. So, I also want to thank our sponsors. This is an opportunity for you to have a half-day workshop, probably valued at a few $100s if you've seen these types of things elsewhere, to come for $20 each. So we want to give a big round of applause to our donors. make this for you, what you're looking for, and that's the importance of the post survey. I didn't check my phone, but it was supposed to hit at 11:30, so it's supposed to hit 11:30. If not, as soon as this is over, make sure it hits soon. Those are really important to us. The metrics help so that we know what you're looking for. These are for you, designed for you. And also, just confirms what we're doing, what all of our funders are doing to help the nonprofit community and therefore helping clients. There's a lot of paperwork on your table. Please make sure you look through it for all of the good stuff coming up. The last page is from Intersector. Lisa, are you here? She's in the back if people have questions about that. She's also here representing AFP, and there's brochures out in the back for that too. If any of you Jumpstart participants are around, maybe want to hang out so just people can ask you questions about your program, raise your hands one more time so we know. And then the little one thing card, we started this I think about a year ago, and it really was well received. Again, it helps us see what you think you need to do so we can generate additional programming and training for you. We hope that you put your address on it. Sometimes we get them back without an address, which is hard for us to mail back to you. But it's, learning something is one thing, putting it into practice is a whole other ballgame. She said 3 things. I wrote down 100 things I need to do. So help us help you by filling out those cards, and please fill out the survey if we had your email address. Did I miss anything? Oh, yes. So the survey also has a link to just what the handouts you have on the table. Brian, can you raise your hand in the corner? Brian Arpey's here with us today from nplace.org. He's been videotaping this, so we'll cut it and snip it a little bit so it's not 3 hours or 4 hours of talking, and have that available to you as well with the full PowerPoint, which was really, really, really big, so we couldn't fit it in the post-survey bag to you. But we will get both of those pieces back to you when we've snipped it, sliced and diced them. So thank you very much for coming. We got you out of here early so you get another half hour to work on fundraising. Thank you, everybody.